You just don't seem to ever stop being on the road. Does it feel that way for you guys?
We didn't slow down during the pandemic. I was talking to someone the other day about doing a bunch of driving shows and stuff, and we really felt keen to get out there and even while people were been trying to figure out their lives, to not only put a Christmas album out or What Are We Waiting For as an album out, but actually to get out in front of people in real life. So yeah, it has been a busy time. I'm sure there's going to be some twists and turns as far as touring is concerned in the future, but that's not going to deter us from coming home again to Australia.
Of course. Are these twists and turns that you feel like you're creating some changes you want to make, or you just foresee things shifting in the way that bands tour in general?
No, I think it's more about us probably than just bands in general. I think it is, Luke and I are 10 years in, if you can believe it. You get to a point in anything where everything's sort of seasonal, creativity seasonal as well, and you start asking yourself, okay, what is the next era of the King Country? And I think there's a lot of it that has to do with stepping into more of a theatrical space. There's a lot of it that has to do with kind of quality over quantity as far as touring. So maybe not touring as much, but when we do in larger spaces and whatnot. And so, and leaving space for this season too with family and our wives and space to create. And so, I feel that there's a change afoot. What that is, we're just going to stay sensitive to the spirit on. But yeah, we're enjoying it nonetheless. We're excited. Yeah. We're not slowing down. I'll say that much. Don't be worried that we're going anywhere.
It doesn't feel like you are. Between Journey to Bethlehem, which obviously just released, and congratulations on that, because that was fantastic. We've enjoyed experiencing that in Australia. But then to hear that you are also coming back, for those that saw your show at the Opera House, I mean, this is a big deal to see that you're going to be filling the ICC. It to me is the perfect kind of backdrop for the style of show that you guys have become known for, where there is a beautiful stage production. There's a lot of theatrics in a way that you guys bring to your live shows.
Laura, you mentioned Sydney Opera House, and you guys were so kind. I have to be honest, we were pretty frightened coming down because it was our first official time as a band. And you know the whole adage, a prophet's not sort of welcome in his own town. We were like, well, we still consider ourselves Australian, but do Australians still consider us Australian? I think it was partly, what Hope 103.2 did and the listeners, and how not only when we went on sale was it like, okay, yeah, here you go, we'll sell at the Sydney Opera House, but we'll add another show. And there was this beautiful poetry to our sort of returning to Australia, and our first event being at the Sydney Opera House, So we're so proud to come back, and like you mentioned, we're so proud on our official sort of homecoming tour to bring more of the kind of the bells and the whistles and put it in a sort of a more arena environment, so that we can take a lot of what we've been doing up here in the Northern Hemisphere, we can kind of bring it down south more officially for the first time. So literally ever since 2019, it's been something that we've been like, hey, how do we get back, as soon as possible.
And it's going to be different because when you did come in 2019, that you are performing to a world that in so many ways is different to what the world is kind of like now. Of course, we still have a love for creativity and music and all of these things, but I feel like the heart of people that you're going to be singing into, it's in a really different place.
It is. I mean, it just feels like it's a different world. I mean, we came, really a year before a pandemic changed everything. And we released a Christmas album in that time, released a new album, What Are We Waiting For, in that time. And part of it was because we felt the sort of tectonic plates of humanity shifting. And so it's not a show that we feel like, I think we're going to come and everything's going to feel different. I think the audience, we're all, we've gone through this great suffering together as a human race. And I'm hopeful that even as awesome as 2019 was, that there's going to be a new depth and width and height that we're going to experience at these shows and with you in Sydney, because we've walked through something hard. And there is a real crossing of the threshold when you walk through something hard in relationship. If it's a listener and an artist, human to human, you change and you go deeper. And that's what I think this tour represents. That's why we call it the Homecoming Tour. It's because it's like it actually feels like The first time was like, hey, do you still love us? We're still here. And this one feels like, no, we love you. You love us. And so now it's time to come home and experience this together.
How does it feel to be face to face with audiences, with fans that have watched your journey? You know, that there are people that remember when you guys, particularly those that know your mum and dad, they remember when you guys lived here, when Australia was home. They've watched you move, they've watched your career become all that it has been, to then perform live in front of people that have been part of the journey for so long. How does that feel for you guys?
It does feel otherworldly, in the sense of, you know, America has become our home, there's no doubt. The Northern Hemisphere is where we've spent the majority of our lives, but there's something about your birthland, and there's something about even me still carrying this accent and just generational heritage of being Australian, that it does feel like home. It feels like the deepest, there's a soul rest and a soul tie to Australia I don't feel really anywhere else. And it was surprising, you know, I say surprising. Maybe it surprised me that it surprised me. But when I felt that soul tie on the last trip, it was like, this is otherworldly. And I'm excited to come back and experience it. But there is nothing, make no mistake, there's not, it's very different from, we love playing up here, and we're very grateful for the opportunity to travel America and Europe and the Northern Hemisphere, but it's other coming back in a good way.
It's going to be so good. We're really looking forward to it. And I think seeing the creativity that you guys bring to the music, to your live shows, as I've said, of course, is going to be exciting. But there's also a contribution that you guys make to, I think, the music industry more broadly, right? Like, you've really got your own sense of identity and sound. Is that something that you feel like has reached maybe its peak in a way? Like, do you feel like what For King Country is, like, you're really settled on that? Or as you alluded to before in what might be next for the band, do you think your sound or your identity as a band will shift?
I think it will evolve, you know? And Luke and I are having these conversations all the time. There's part of it is like, where is the sort of the macro music conversation going? Like, where is music with a capital M moving? And then there's this micro, where is the For King Country world moving? And I think we're working on a project in association with this unsung hero film that we're putting out next year that kind of chronicles our parents' story. And that has been, we've actually been doing a lot of covers on it because it's more of an inspired by record, a lot of collaborations. And that has indicated what the next record's going to be, because we've discovered things in this. So I think there's going to be evolution, no doubt. But I do think the sort of tenets of For King Country, you know, Luke and me, really rhythmically based, kind of international sounding, world beats, all of this stuff. I don't think that's going to go away. But no, we're not ready to just sort of rest on our laurels and just kind of plug and play. We're continuing to. We actually feel like, I think, like I said earlier, I feel like we're in a bit of a sweet spot with the whole team that has been earned over 10 years, you know? So excited to explore what that looks like.
It's awesome. Well, Joel, we cannot wait to have you back on Australian shores. We'll host you in all of the best ways we can when you visit Sydney. But thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you as well.